Hi everyone, welcome to your Mystic Soul bonus session on Chumpi stones and the Chakana. So I thought something that when you're diving deeper like into your shamanic wisdom or sacred geometry wisdom, all of those types of things, certain shapes and things are going to come into your awareness, and it'd be really helpful to know a little bit more wisdom about that. So it's quite possible that you've come to this information before. It's quite possible that you've had bits and pieces coming at you. So I wanted to go over the Chakana first before we dive into the fun Chumpi stones. So this is the Chakana, the cross shape that you see here. We have the 3 steps on each side, top and bottom. It's the sacred cross. The circle in the center is the portal. So I wanted to talk to you about what this means and look at my notes really quick. So the Chakana is the Inca cross, and this is an Incan religious symbol formed by superimposed geometric shapes that represent 3 levels of existence. So we go over this a little bit more in depth when we get to our archetypes, the harmony rite, and that'll be in April when we do that one, so that's gonna be awesome. But the 3 levels of existence are the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world. So in Inca tradition, they call the upper world Hana Pacha, the upper world inhabited by the higher gods. The middle world is Ke Pacha, the everyday world we live in. And the underworld, where we dive deep into our shadow and all that fun stuff, is the, and I might not be pronouncing this right, Yunin or Unin Pacha, the underworld inhabited by the spirits of the dead. So the outermost cross, and here, like when we're chatting and when you're seeing this bonus session, I'm also putting with this video the notes for the Chakana and the Chumpi stone. So it might be easier to follow along looking at the notes. Just pull them up on your computer or print them out if you want to, or on your phone, however you're doing it. So the outermost cross represents the cardinal points of a compass. The outermost cross, and indirectly relating to the sun god or highest deity. The hole in the center represents the passageway between the levels. The Chakana is derived from the Quechua, traditional language of the Incas, word chaque, meaning to cross or to bridge. So I wanted to, I'm just gonna skip ahead. So of course, you know, north, south, east, west. For that, we have, of course, when we're in north, and we have all the elements. So north, earth; east, air; south, fire; west, water. Okay, so the Inca cross is a strong symbol of the old cultures of the Andes. It's considered the most complete holy geometric design of the Incas. The symbol's often found in old places and holy centers in the Andes in Peru and in Bolivia. The Chakana has had and still has a considerable meaning to the Incas, and it's also represented in many meanings in its design. So there's a lot going on in the design that I want to just quickly talk to you about. And of course, you can read a little bit more of the notes that I'm posting with regard to the Chakana. But this is a shape that you're going to come across. I'm just going to scroll through my notes. So the word Chakana is based on chaque, which means to cross or to bridge. Okay, I went over that. So this is a cool way to dive deeper into meditating on the Chakana. So when the Chakana is used for meditation or for training/teaching, it's said to bring mental balance and a deeper insight at many levels of consciousness. So the meanings of the Inca cross sides, levels, and top, bottom, and middle we have here. So in your notes, I have a visual in pink where it shows top and then the bottom, which they call bund, and then A, B, C, and D. And it's labeled here for you to make it easier so you can see. So the 3 levels on the top left, I have no idea if this is showing left to you guys, so let's imagine. Top left, future, present, past. Top right is, so the opposite side, it are those 3 levels of existence as well. The upper, middle, lower worlds. So the bottom left is peace, war, and intelligence. At the bottom right, holy animals are condor, eagle, cougar, and snake. So they honor those within the Chakana. And the archetypes in the Chakana, the eagle represents the upper world, the cougar represents the powerful land animals, middle world, and snake represents the lower world in the Chakana. Let's see if there was anything more I wanted to mention with that. I just wanted you to know about this if you didn't already. So 4 most important corners symbolize north, south, east, west, 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water, 4 big stars in the South Cross. And then we have the 12 corners. So the 12 festivals, the Incan calendar, the Incas had a calendar composed of 12 months of 30 days each month, and the Incan calendar had its own festival meaning month. The 12 outer corners mark the 12 corners of the year and an achievement of awareness. And of course the top is Huaracocha, God, bottom is Pachamama, earth, and this is just, of course, a simple representation. There, of course, could be many others and deeper meanings and things that you can do. But again, I love that you could do a beautiful meditation where you're focusing on the Chakana and then diving deep into the center, which is a portal. It's a bridge. So you can go into the multiverse, into multidimensional realities if you so choose. So yay. That's something maybe you place on your altar. So always, you know, altars are a personal expression. An altar doesn't have to be religious. An altar can be what it is to you and represent something. In ancient days, every household had an altar. So it's to help, like, I think a really good one to have at all times is one right in the center of your home for health, excellent health. So that will uplift the energy. It doesn't have to be a beautiful, like I'm just going with the energy here. It doesn't have to be a beautiful thing. It can be beautiful to you. A good color to have in the center is yellow in feng shui. You can add things that mean life and growth to you. So I know someone had a hallway in their health center, so they were like, what do I do? So they painted the hallway yellow, and then they were guided to just do this and this stencil or whatever, maybe they were very artistic, of a beautiful growing vine, and it was just this beautiful thing that really made the hallway have a life of its own, and it took on health. So you might choose Chakana with regard to spirituality, different ideas, and take it and run with it because it has a representation of many things. So moving on to our Chumpi stones, I can't wait. So Chumpi stones, they are healing stones. So the Chumpi stones are kuas, are known, or kuas is the other name for them, are known as healing stones and have been used in centuries by the Kero shamans and healers of the high Andes and healing practices to initiate and pass on lineage rites, as well as to connect to sacred mountains known as Apacuna and Nusta. These healing stones are connected to the 7 mountains of Peru. So often you'll get Chumpi stones in a set of 7. So they also will represent and connect to the 7 mountains in Peru, carrying the energy held at the temple sites for each of those unique mountains and energies. And those 7 mountains in Peru are said to also connect with the different energies of the 7 Pleiades, the 7 stars of the Pleiades. And we dive deeper into that information and beauty in your, not the Star Keeper's Rite per se, but we will be doing the Star Keeper's Rite that will connect you to certain star nations and lineages of your soul. And then when we get into the Star Keeper, the star rites that I do that are beyond the Moon Key rites, because it's said after you do the Moon Key rites, you will receive inspiration, creativity, and energies to offer certain techniques and energies to other people. Could be rites, could be attunement, could be whatever you call it. And then your guided to share what comes through to you. And part of that are what has been received and channeled by my teacher, the star rites. So I've received them, and now I pass them on as well because I love them. So they connect you with a few different star lineages, like the Lyrans and the Pleiades, and we talk a lot about that and the different 7 stars in those. So now, Chumpies. So the Chumpi feed and nurture the light body, so that negative entities and experiences and energies do not devour your energy. The Chumpi also provides protection, strengthening the light body with the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, air, and pure light. When placing Chumpi stones in a circle, this is something I mentioned really fast in one of our classes last month, or around an altar, it creates a sacred space. So you can have Chumpis in your altar. And I showed that last month in the Mesa, where I laid out the black meteorite Chumpi stones I had. And you can place them around your bed, creating a sacred container. And they also are said to help with insomnia. So it's a nice addition to have them in your energy field around your bed while you're sleeping, as a protective layer, and helps with insomnia. And then, what was the other thing that just popped in my head? You can do it where you place them around you while you're in meditation, creating that sacred container. Like maybe you have no time, or maybe you have plenty of time and that's one extra thing you're doing, or maybe you're like, I have no time. Put the Chumpis around you and start your meditation, and then you can go. So some different ways of using the Chumpi stones there. So the Chumpi stones are hand carved. The creator goes into a trance. And they'll be in trance for about 2 weeks, often, because it takes about 2 weeks to make one set. They will connect to the energies of the mountains while they're creating each of the different stones and the different archetypes. And it's said, like, these sets, the villages and the families that make them it's often what supports them and keeps them with food and shelter and all the things. So it's always good to buy from families, right? And it holds that beautiful extra personal energy, knowing that they're going into trance, they're doing this meditation. It's not a quickie thing that they're banging out and moving on to the next one. They're really thoughtful, and that makes it just even more special. And knowing that each set is unique in that way, that when the set you receive is extra special and sacred, and you're meant to receive it divinely. Let's see. So working with these. 2 weeks. So the carved Huamanta stone or black meteorite. So Huamanta is a form of alabaster. Just to mention really fast. Huamanta or black meteorite are the 2 more ancient forms of Chumpi stones that they work with. Now you'll see them in amethyst, jade, and a few other different stones. I've seen them recently too. It'll be cool to get those, I think, just because I love the energy of amethyst and the different unique energy that will go along with that. But I did want to have the way that they've done it for hundreds of years. What do they use, so I do have the alabaster, and now I have the black meteorite as well in my toolkit, which is awesome. Let's see. So working with the Chumpi stones will stabilize your energy and offer immense grounding because it's balancing every chakra, and we like that. So while providing clearing and protection and power, as mentioned, each Chumpi stone is aligned with the 7 mountains and aligned with different energy streams. And so 7 mountains, 7 stars of Pleiades, 7 chakras. So the Huamanta Chumpi stones, alabaster, now the Chumpis themselves hold beautiful energy, and then what they're made out of hold energy. Alabaster is often overlooked for its benefits. So like, here's what alabaster is really good for. So if you let me just go grab, I have it in a circle right now, but just to show you, I wanted to show you alabaster or Huamanta, black meteorite. So alabaster heals tension, relieves headaches, and promotes concentration. So This stone is used for easing anxiety, and it has a beneficial effect on the nervous system. And if that wasn't enough, good time magic, alabaster is also believed to stimulate both root and sacral chakras. So alabaster will on its own have those healing benefits, but then you add to it the sacred magic of creating it in a chumpy form, and with the added benefit of the energies of the mountains and the archetypes and everything. It's pretty amazing. That's layering your correspondence right there. So as I mentioned, they're used in shamanic ceremonies, often the bands of right. So I think this is really cool because I didn't know that chumpy stones would be used in the bands of right, the bands of power. I received the bands of power right with a pie stone, and that's one of the 2 traditional ways to receive the bands of power right. I didn't know that chumpy was one of the ways that they used and offer the bands of power right from hundreds of years ago. I went into meditation wanting to connect with the bands of power right, I believe, and I channeled a shaman using the chumpy stones to do the bands of power right, and I thought that was really neat and really cool, and I offered it. I have that as my channeled journey on my YouTube channel, one of several to help you continue to awaken the seeds that have been planted in the rites that you're receiving. So that's one of the ways. Then I found out later after that channeling that they do actually use that for them. So it was really an extra beautiful confirmation for me that I knew I was connecting with that lineage of the past and receiving what they actually do use these for. Is pretty neat. Okay, so sets are handcrafted. Yep. So they easily enhance the work in your mesa or your altar. And they're portals to the divine. I'm going to go into that a little more. They're carriers of sacred energy. The 7 stone set includes stones associated with the Apus Mountains, as I mentioned, surrounding Cusco, Peru, and have been used in shamanic ceremonies. Yes, mentioned that a bit. I hope I'm not too duplicative what I'm saying here. And the chumpy stones are said to represent the various archetypal figures and are used by the shamans and the high Indies, yes. And when the chumpy stones are carved, the alabaster or huamanta ones are carved with different archetypes. So this is the serpent, and then I'll show you a bunch of the other ones. We have the sun. In your notes I have a list. So when there are 7, they have a specific 7 that they are. Let me scroll ahead. The 7, when you're receiving 7 archetypes, you get the jaguar, the condor, the moon, the great serpent, the sun, the hummingbird, and the cocoa leaf. So they don't often, the archetypes will not always be on the same chakra. So chumpies are carved with points. So the point will tell you which chakra you're at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the crown chakra. So they put the serpent at the crown for me. And I would imagine it at the root if I was thinking like logically with regard to Kundalini energy, and the serpent being in the harmony rites at the root chakra, etc., etc. But they are in trance, and there's a reason. There's a reason why they put the crown chakra with the serpent, and the reason why I received that one with the serpent. There's always like divine reasons, and I can meditate deeper and figure out what that means to me and find that relationship too. So in the so the alabaster ones you'll get often in 7. If you get the 12, you'll get those same 7. Let me just go over serpent, jaguar, condor, and then you'll add in a few extras. Farmland with the furrows for fertility. God of thunder, rain, water, awesome. And of course the moon, the sun. The 4 directions plus intercardinal directions. Wind element, the 4 directions, cocoa leaf, hummingbird. So you get a few extra when it's, of course, the set of 12, and we'll go over that. But first, when you get the Chumpi stones in black meteorite form, you will not see the archetypes on them most of the time, or at least I haven't yet. I think it's just too hard, because as you can see, the carving, it's a lot thicker. It's a little bit more challenging to even get it to form in this way. So I'm thinking that the archetypes would never show up properly visually if I'm sure they tried it. And these are a lot heavier. But they're all meant to like be held in your hand for ease of use and meditating. So black meteorite Chumpi stones are a rare Peruvian treasures. Each of these are hand carved, again, still, and taking 2 weeks. Let's see, same as the Huamanta Chumpi stones. Within these black meteorite Chumpi stones resides the wisdom of the Apus. So it's still with that intention. Almost close my thing out. Working with these pieces will stabilize your energy and offer immense grounding while providing clearing, protection, and power. Same thing there. And you get the added benefit of the black meteorite instead of the alabaster. It seems to have that same intense portal of energy where it calls to any of the lower frequencies, dense energies in the luminous energy field, holds it there, and then you take the extra step of releasing it down to the earth or up to the sky after you've finished. And I'm gonna go over that. It's gonna be fun. Often in sets of 7, 7 powerful number. It's a mystical number. I jumped around, so I'm just trying to find my spot here. Oh yes, so when they come in a set of 12, each stone represents one of the 12 facets of the human consciousness, from birth to awakening to creation. We place these stones around the body in forms that reflect the architecture of the universe. So you can do it in a certain placement that is such of the universe. 12 is a sacred number that echoes through the history of time. Think of the zodiac signs, the apostles, the tribes of Israel, dozen eggs. There's no coincidence that so many traditions reverberate with that special number. And of course, the Incan calendar that we just mentioned, the 12 months. It's inscribed in the heavens and in the human experience. You can connect with your own truest self by coming into conscious relationship with all 12 of the fundamental energies that the Chumpis represent. So I did go over quickly, and it's in your notes, what each of the 12, if you're getting the 12, represent. So, okay, bringing down the energy of the mountains when you work with these guys. So it's helpful to know that every time you work with the Chumpi stones, it's an endless weaving of energies, and it brings and holds the opportunity of new insights every single time you work with them. Greater truths dissolve our confining stories. Continual growth becomes effortless and attainable. It's just like that onion layer. We're constantly evolving, and Chumpi stones give us that added connection to earth and energies of the mountains, of the stars, of the ancients, all of that culminating together for this deeper healing benefit for our entire being on all levels. Okay. As I mentioned, we do it with the bands of power right quite often, which you're getting this month, so we'll go over that. When you use the Chumpi stones, perhaps you use your intuition with how you're going to do the bands of power right, because it's 5. Earth for air. Earth. Black band of power is earth. Red band of power is water. The black is root chakra. The red for water is sacral and solar plexus, so it couples 2 chakras together. The fire is heart. The air silver band is at the throat, and then we have the pure white at the third eye, potentially also crown. So that's for purification and protection. So you may choose, when offering rites to other people, I prefer, I like holding the same one every time, but then again, you do it like shaman way. You have them they're standing for bands of power, right? So maybe you place them on the sacred woven cloth that you received, a manta that we mentioned. Maybe you have them standing on the manta so it's sacred, and you maybe have other Chumpi stones all around in a circle, and then the Chumpis you're working with for the bands of power, right? So as you're working your way around them, you can keep yourself in that sacred container and the Chumpis as well. So you're just constantly switching which one you're intuitively drawn to, perhaps definitely root for earth, that kind of thing, and switching out when you're doing the bands of power, right, which we will go over when we do the Mune Key. So and that's leading right into one of the things that they will do is have you stand on that sacred cloth. Just as like, let's say you're doing a chakra healing for a client, and you have them stand on a cloth, or just stand, and maybe they're in a circle of Chumpis, a sacred container of some sort that you've created. You grab your Chumpi stones and you work with the root chakra, and you will take that root of, okay, let's say throat chakra, but you often start at the root and work your way up. But just so you can see it on the video, in the front, you start in the center with that Chumpi stone. You go all the way around to the back, connect at the center, the spine area, come back to center, come back around to the other side, and back to center. You're balancing both sides of their being. You're connecting with the bands, with the Chumpi stone, with that chakra. And you can hold this Chumpi stone for as long as is needed, before, during that flow, or after. And then when you feel like it's complete, it's extracted as much as it can from that chakra, place it down on that manta, on that sacred cloth within the sacred circle. Or what I've seen them do is they have a sacred woven belt that they wrap around, of cloth around the person. So you could stick that Chumpi in that belt, and then move on to the next Chumpi in the next chakra, do your work, and stick the next one in that cloth, and on up it goes until all 7 are in there. And then you'll take that sacred a belt that you had wrapped around your client, bring it to the earth for transmutation into pure light, place them on the earth, even adding your sacred intention that the energy will be extracted from the earth, extracted by earth, by Gaia, out of the Chumpi stones, to cleanse and clear them and transmute into pure light. Perhaps you also decide you want to use that cleansing and purification up to the stars, to divine spirit, and ask them to transmute and transform. And if you're not around earth at the moment, maybe you have a bowl of dirt in your home to help you, and you can place it in there and then dump the the dirt outside later. Or again, sending it up to the sky, or intending to send it to the earth when you're not near earth until you can get there, you know? Okay. So, I think I mentioned, Chumpi stones are so great for cleansing, purification. The healing will help work with your nervous system, releasing anxiety, headaches, promotes the concentration, increasing and renewing your body energy. They are awesome. If you have anxiety, get your Chumpi stones. If you have a headache, get your Chumpi stones. If you need to just cleanse and clear and detoxify your body, remove that negative energy, get your Chumpi stones and do some work. Lay in a circle of Chumpi stones, like they're amazing. So now you can do Chumpi self-healing. You can do healing with a client, as I mentioned, one of those ways already. Place the Chumpis on a chakra prior to working with the stone, or just after. You may enjoy meditating on one stone by itself. So you could just lay with the corresponding, wherever you feel you need the work is, or have all the Chumpis resting near or on the chakra that they're cleansing and clearing, and do a meditation. Or maybe you hold, like, I need to do root chakra work, so I'm just gonna, hold this Chumpi stone and meditate with it, either eyes closed or eyes open, gazing at that Chumpi stone and meditating and going within. And perhaps there's some messages you can extract from that sacred work. You may aid the stone in its intensity by visualizing all dense, lower vibrational energy leaving the area that it's working on for yourself or a client. The stone, okay, so here's what I kind of mentioned before. The stone creates a powerful portal. It's a void, an infinite dark space, and a gateway to hold infinite amount of energy. Any dense energy that needs to be removed from a body is poured into this void. It can hold an unimaginable amount of negative energy in a safe way, not permanently. So it reminds me very much of like vocal extraction, which we're going to go over. That's a little different. I lost my spot. It can hold, and it's a holding area much like vocal extraction, where the next step is to pass on the energy to earth for transmutation or up to sky. So we mentioned that. Chakra cleansing, best done standing with your client. We talked about that, so I don't need to go too much into that. And I think that is, so you may ask Divine Spirit to transmute the energy, as well as the earth. You can do both. So there's variations to healing with Chumpi stones. You're always going to use your intuition and creativity. If you receive the guidance, it's meant to be, and you can shift and change and move with that. I've seen there's Chumpi stone oracle decks out there, at least one. A book and perhaps an oracle deck that you shuffle through, and this is what you should do with your Chumpi stone today or something. So I've seen something like that. So that's someone using their creativity and what flowed through them to use the Chumpi magic with. Like, it's an ever-evolving process, just like we are ever-evolving beings, and we're going to shift, change, and move and all the things. So I wanted to just flip the camera and just show you the quick circle I made with each of the Chumpis, just so you have that visual, and I'll be able to just place that image in your classroom too. But I hope that this is good learning. So let me just do that. I'm going to stop the video and come back. Okay, so here are the two different Chumpi options that I have so far, and I'm really thinking about getting those amethyst ones. But these are the alabaster, black meteorite, of course. And then, as I mentioned, there's no archetypes on the black meteorite. These are just the 7 main core Chumpi stones. And I wanted to place a sphere in there just for fun, because spheres send energy in all directions. So I just loved that. It's the blue-green kyanite sphere I have. This one's a quartz flame. So here, in the center rather, so here we do have the archetypes. We have the sun, and I think that's condor and jaguar, serpent, and then let's see. Oh, that's condor, right? And we got our cocoa leaf. They all have a cocoa leaf, sun and moon. So they all come with their own unique carvings, trans-channels, and I love it. It's awesome. If you have any questions about the Chumpis, about the Chakana, just let me know. If there's anything extra that I can add to your learning, I'd love to. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Ask away, and I will be seeing you soon for class. Have an amazing day. Bye.